to launch a prison tattoo program in hopes of curbing bloodborne illnesses as inmates tattoo themselves with homemade tools. The Corrections Department is searching for an experienced tattoo artist to oversee tattoo studios in state prisons. It wants to slow the spread of diseases like hepatitis C that can spread when inmates try to tattoo themselves or each other with unsterilized tools like electric motors and ballpoint pens and share contaminated needles. As of January, anywhere from 1,200 to 3,500 of the prison system's 7,500 inmates were infected with hepatitis C. Treatment can cost between $20,000 and $75,000. The Minneapolis School District is dropping its mask mandate as of Monday. The district also will end contact tracing work and quarantine time for unvaccinated adults and students exposed to COVID-19 will shrink from 10 days to 5. The quarantine period will still last 10 days for those who test positive. The St. Paul district is also lifting its mask mandate on Monday. KFGO Weather Center forecast, mostly cloudy, scattered snow showers this afternoon. KFGO meteorologist Tom Shemansky is expecting a high of about 28. Near 14 overnight, mostly cloudy, still breezy this evening. Tomorrow becoming mostly sunny and somewhat breezy, 34. 24 increasing clouds tomorrow night. Cloudy Sunday, areas of snow, maybe mixed with some rain, and 36, 34 Monday, near 40 Tuesday. Fargo-Moorhead, it's mostly cloudy, 22. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy. It's 23. I'm Paul Juergens, about 28 for the high. North Dakota DOT plows have been out working to clear the piles of snow in the aftermath of the blizzard across much of the state. All major highways are now reopened. The last I-94 from Jamestown to the Montana line had opened at noon. DOT spokesman Matt Wallstead.
We've had a lot of issues with bridges and existing structures on roadway collecting snow, sometimes as high as 10 or 15 feet. The DOT did a really fantastic job coordinating between districts and putting equipment in areas that it was needed most. So we had equipment from the Fargo district traveling all the way out west to assist some of the districts out there that had a much harder time.
Wallstead says during the height of the storm, plow operators went above and beyond, working extreme hours, assisting emergency services to get people in rural areas to hospitals. 23, this is KFGO News. This is KFGO News. Amanda, a North Dakota man with a record of child sex crimes, will spend the next 40 years in federal prison after he traveled to Madagascar, Africa, to solicit sex from minors. 60-year-old Maurice Thill pleaded guilty to a number of charges. Prosecutors say Thill flew to Madagascar in December 2019. Investigators found images on his phone showing him having sex with a minor in that country. The Fargo Police Advisory and Oversight Board has held its first meeting. It is the first board of its type in the state. Police Chief Dave Zabulski says he hopes the board will improve trust and relations with the community, which he says were greatly strained in 2020. Dr. Joanna Johnson, a psychiatric nurse practitioner, was elected chair. The board chose a former New York City Police Department, Lucretia King, to be vice chair. The way the police department interacts with people who are suffering from mental health challenges was a priority for both Johnson and King. Zabulski gave an update at that meeting, saying their recruiting efforts to start filling staff shortages have been successful.
This would likely be the largest group of officer hires at any one given time in department history by the time we get to August. So we're pretty excited about that in terms of getting some new boots on the ground and helping fill some of those gaps.
The Oversight Board will meet once a month. Members will serve terms of 3 or 4 years. Grand Forks police arrested a woman last night after she fired a gun at a home. 38-year-old Jill Mudge may be charged with reckless endangerment. Officers found a bullet that went through the living room floor and hit a cement wall in the basement. No one was in that basement at the time. Mudge's boyfriend was nearby when the gun was fired. State Senator Kent Egan has announced he will not run for re-election. He represents District 4, that includes portions of Clay, Becker, and Norman counties. He says his decision was based on several factors, including his desire to return to teaching and legislative redistricting. Egan was first elected to the Senate in 2012. He served in the House for 10 years prior to his move to the Senate. He's the latest Minnesota lawmaker to announce their retirement at the end of the year. Mostly cloudy, scattered snow showers this afternoon. We should see a high of about 28. We'll stay cloudy overnight. Wind subsiding somewhat this evening, decreasing clouds and wind then overnight. And we will be near a record low for this date of 14, the existing record 13 degrees that was established in 1973. Becoming mostly sunny tomorrow, 34, 24, increasing clouds tomorrow night. Sunday, cloudy, areas of snow, maybe mixed in with some rain. Meteorologist Tom Szymanski is expecting 36. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy, 23. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO. KFGO News, Fargo-Moorhead, it is mostly cloudy, 23. Mike Paul Jurgens. It has been a long week for people in much of North Dakota with record snowfall for April in several parts of the state. DOT plow drivers have dealt with blocked highways and snowdrifts several feet high. DOT spokesman Matt Wallstead.
Our operators have really gone above and beyond, working extreme hours to make sure that these roads are open and they're safe. We've also had a lot of operators assisting emergency services, trying to get people from rural areas to hospitals. We've helped transport blood to rural areas as well to make sure that those life-saving supplies are available.
Wallstead says heavy equipment and operators from the Fargo district were sent to other parts of the state. I-94 between Bismarck and the Montana border was the last section of Major Highway 2 reopened. That took place at noon. Plows running at reduced speed will be working throughout the weekend. North Dakota tax filers will have an extra week to return and pay their state income taxes. Citing the disruptive blizzard, State Tax Commissioner Brian Croshus put a waiver on all income tax penalties and interest through Monday, April 25th. The waiver only applies to the state income tax deadline, and filers must still send in their federal income tax returns by Monday or request an extension to avoid penalties. Officials at the University of Minnesota do not believe that cardinals, robins, and bluebirds are spreading avian influenza. U of M Raptor Center Director Victoria Hall says not having wild birds congregate, though, is not a bad idea.
There's been lots of different studies looking for it incidentally in birds like songbirds. Songbirds are not thought to be a major driver, but I'm not going to say anything's impossible. We know we had at least a couple chickadees in the 2015 HPAI event here in Minnesota.
Wall says the wild birds that are likely carrying avian influenza include ducks, geese, eagles, gulls, and ravens. Hall says she would not rule out an outbreak among songbirds. Campaign finance reports show Governor Walz has $4.1 million in the bank for his reelection campaign, while Dr. Scott Jensen and Senator Paul Gazelka are the money leaders among candidates seeking the Republican endorsement for governor. The report shows Jensen, a former state senator who's running as a COVID-19 skeptic, ended the first quarter with nearly $775,000 in cash on hand. Gazelka, a former state majority leader, campaigning on the Law and Order platform, finished the reporting period with just under $400,000 in the bank. Mostly cloudy. We may see some snow showers on and off this afternoon. KFGO meteorologist Tom Szymanski. Looking for upper 20s yet. We were at 24, now 22. Mostly cloudy this evening and decreasing clouds and wind then overnight. A near record low of 14. Tomorrow becoming mostly sunny and 34, 36 cloudy Sunday. Some areas of snow and maybe mixed with a little light rain. 34 partly to mostly cloudy and windy for Monday. 22, Paul Jurgens, News Radio KFGO.
Good. No, I was just gonna call in. You guys talk on the air all the time about that night that Denny Wallaker just walked into the studio, and right, and I was the one with my neighbor. We were down on County Road 16. We were fighting the floodwaters that night, and Denny Wallaker pulled up on the road, and it was him and Pat Savrol, and I don't even know who else was in the car. But Denny was laughing at us because he said, "What are you guys doing?" He said, "The flood is going to be end tomorrow." He said, "The water's going down." And that's when his phone rang. And he was like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh, F." And he says, "I got to go, guys." And that's when he went straight to the KFGO studio and went on the air that night. Because that's when the gauges on the river were off. And yep, he found out the gauges were off, and it was like 8 inches or 9 inches higher than they thought. It was, yep, that's right. Yeah, no, it was a lot. It wasn't that sweet when he was out there, but yep. All right, bye.
Fargo-Moorhead cloudy at 3:30. It's 23. I'm Paul Jerkins. It's been a long week for people in much of North Dakota with record snowfall for April in several parts of the state. DOT plow drivers have dealt with blocked highways and several snowdrifts. Several feet high. DOT spokesman Matt Wallstead says heavy equipment and operators from the Fargo district were sent to other parts of the state. I-94 between Bismarck and the Montana border was the last section of major highway to reopen. Plows running at reduced speed will be working throughout the weekend. As the state starts to dig out from the three-day blizzard, the head of the North Dakota Stockmen's Association says even though it's early, they are bracing for bad news from their members.
I think it's pretty early to tell. We've been in contact with different producers, and throughout this different storms, whether it's 97 or 84, a lot of times the true death loss isn't known until the snowdrifts melt. So it's going to be difficult to know, but I know that there is going to be some death loss. To what extent, I do not know yet.
Jeff Schaefer says the storm was a double-edged sword for North Dakota farmers and ranchers. Much of the state is still in a drought, but they've also been at the height of calving season. He ranches near New Rockford. He says the wind was the worst part of the storm, causing drifts so high that they covered fences and made it difficult even getting cattle and bales. Fargo-Moorhead 23. This is KFGO News. .23 degrees. This is KFGO News. A guard at Minnesota's Stillwater State Prison has been charged with smuggling methamphetamine into the prison. The 24-year-old St. Paul woman is charged with drug sale and possession. According to the complaint, the guard admitted to bringing drugs into the prison 6 times. Investigators say they seized a cell phone from an inmate and discovered a series of text messages with the corrections officer. Her plans to smuggle drugs into the prison were discussed. She was arrested when her car was searched as she arrived for work. The charges say meth was found under a receipt. A Mandan, North Dakota man with a record of child sex crimes will spend the next 40 years in federal prison after he traveled to Madagascar, Africa to solicit sex from minors. 60-year-old Maurice Thill pleaded guilty to a number of charges. Prosecutors say Thill flew to Madagascar in December 2019. Investigators found images on his phone showing him having sex with a minor in that country. Propane auto gas prices are averaging $2.34 a gallon now compared to $3.82 for traditional gas in Minnesota. Minnesota Pipeline Association Director Dave Wagger says more than 1,000 school buses in the state run on propane.
The number's going up. I'm aware of over 60 buses that were ordered within the last 2 months. Propane is in a school bus is 66% more cost effective than an electric bus. You can buy 3 propane buses for the price of 1 electric bus.
Wagger says propane buses have produced less emissions than diesel buses. Drivers can also purchase propane conversion kits for several models of passenger cars and trucks. The Minneapolis School District is dropping its mask mandate on Monday. The district will also end contract tracing work and quarantine time for unvaccinated adults and students exposed to COVID-19 will shrink from 10 days to 5. The quarantine period will last 10 days for those who test positive. The St. Paul District is also lifting its mask mandate on Monday. Special weather statement just into KFGO from the National Weather Service, the Bismarck office, accumulating snow, a possibility tomorrow night and Sunday. This is the result of a low pressure system bringing chances for accumulating snow to much of western and central North Dakota primarily. Again, tomorrow night through Sunday, best chances for accumulating snow are along and north of Highway 200. Though meteorologist Tom Szymanski says there is a chance of snow essentially across the state. Accumulations not expected to be nearly as high as this previous week's blizzard, but travel could still be affected as accumulating snow makes roads slippery. Our KFGO Weather Center forecast from meteorologist Tom Szymanski, mostly cloudy tonight. A bit breezy in the evening, decreasing clouds and wind later on. We'll be near a record low for the day at 14. Becoming sunny, breezy tomorrow, 34. 24 tomorrow night, increasing clouds. And Sunday, cloudy with that chance of snow. Areas of snow may be mixed with rain in Fargo-Moorhead, 36. About 34, partly to mostly cloudy. Windy once again for Monday. Mostly cloudy Tuesday and 40. 23, Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
if you got family in town, you're going to want to get out and do some things. So we got a couple of great options for you tonight in Fargo Brewing. Tonight, tomorrow through Sunday at 5 p.m. are having the Neutral Moto motorcycle show. This one's featuring Runts, Minis, and Groms. So it's the little bikes. And so everybody wants to come out and see those. And you can bring the family out there. And we brought our dog Bear out last time. He had a blast looking at the motorcycles. So it's starting tonight through Sunday. Or that's an option, right? Yeah, and they serve beer there. That's all you need to know. I have a feeling both of us would end up on America's Funniest Home Videos if we tried that. So, yep, all weekend long. Something to get the family out for. And then also tonight, the Troll Lounge Unkaraoke starting at 7:30 p.m. That's Unkaraoke is where you sit in your chair and sing along, and you don't have to be brave enough to get in front of a microphone. We got no. Yeah, and there's enough other voices that we drown everybody out, so it's a fun way to do it. Midwest Remedies is going to be playing at Dempsey's Public House this evening, starting at 10 p.m. One of the region's favorite bands, the Boots, is going to be appearing with the Johnson Brothers Band at the Aquarium tonight. That's a great show. Just, good feeling, good time music. So if you want to go out for that, that's at the Aquarium. Also downtown, Tripping Leslie is at the Fargo VFW both tonight and tomorrow, another good band. So there's some options for you there. Saturday is the annual El Zago Suds and Spuds. It's the 11th annual craft beer tasting and competitive cook-off going on from 4 to 7 p.m. tomorrow. And I've been to this thing a number of times. You get to eat some taters and drink some beer, and that's not a bad combination. That's at El Zago. It's a dream come true for a North Dakotan. And then tomorrow night at the Yomcomp Center, just across the bridge, acoustic hours featuring Amanda Standalone and Quasium, and that's going to be a good show, 7 to 9:30 p.m. Well, and we just got to see him downtown last week too, and he's a fantastic musician. Quasium is. So, and then tomorrow at the Aquarium is the Four Feathers, Subculture, and Pat Wood, and of course Pat Wood is Pat Leonard and Travis Atwood. So that's going to be a great show at the Aquarium. Michael Ray Pfeiffer is going to be over across the river at Swing Barrel Brewing tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And tomorrow night, Jonathan Robert is going to be playing an acoustic set at the Troll Lounge from 7 to 10 p.m. And that takes us, all kinds of good music going on downtown again. I think, people were really hungering for it coming out of the COVID slump here. So some good options. One more thing going on Sunday in the evening, we'll talk about at the Aquarium is an all H's Easter banger. A couple of good bands, including locals Baltic to Boardwalk, are going to be at the Aquarium 6 to 11:30 p.m. And then I did want to mention that there is a great Easter brunch going on from 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. over at the Armory, the new Armory Event Center in Moorhead. It's right on Center Avenue. Beautiful building. And it's going to be a complete brunch catered by their own staff there. So you got to make reservations. Go to armoryevent.com. That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So that's, there's a lot of family events this weekend. Look around and you can find things all over the place, but those are the ones we picked out as the highlights. Sounds good. Same to you.
KFGO News, it is mostly cloudy. Fargo-Moorhead 24. I'm Paul Jurgens. North Dakota DOT plows have been working throughout the week to clear the piles of snow and drifts in the aftermath of the blizzard to get those highways reopened. Spokesman Matt Wallstead.
We've had a lot of issues with bridges and existing structures on roadway collecting snow, sometimes as high as 10 or 15 feet. The DOT did a really fantastic job coordinating between districts and putting equipment in areas that it was needed most. So we had equipment from the Fargo district traveling all the way out west to assist some of the districts out there that had a much harder time.
Wall says during the height of the storm, plow operators went above and beyond, working extreme hours, assisting emergency services in some cases to get people in rural areas to hospitals. A North Dakota man with a record of child sex crimes will spend the next 40 years in federal prison after he traveled to Madagascar, Africa, to solicit sex from minors. 60-year-old Maurice Thill pleaded guilty to a number of charges. Prosecutors say Thill flew to Madagascar in December 2019. Investigators found images on his phone showing him having sex with a minor in that country. Prosecutors have charged a prison guard with smuggling methamphetamine to a Minnesota inmate. 24-year-old Faith Gratz has been charged. According to a criminal complaint, investigators discovered the scheme after they confiscated a cell phone from an inmate at Stillwater State Prison earlier this month. They learned Gratz had given the inmate the phone. Messages included the two of them laying out delivery plans. Police and prison investigators say they caught Gratz with meth in her pickup as she arrived for work. Campaign finance reports show Governor Walz has more than $4 million in the bank for his reelection campaign, while Dr. Scott Jensen and Senator Paul Gazelka are the money leaders among candidates seeking the Republican endorsement of governor. Jensen, a former state senator, ended the first quarter with nearly $775,000 in cash. Gazelka, a former state majority leader campaigning on a law and order platform, finished the reporting period with just over $400,000 in the bank. Minnesota Wild fans have donated more than $20,000 that will benefit the Children's Hospital Network in Minnesota. The fans began sending donations to forward Ryan Hartman after he was fined more than $4,000 by the NHL for his on-ice conduct during a game this week. He made an obscene gesture toward an opposing player. After donations began pouring in, Hartman announced that he'd give any donations he received to the hospital network. KFGO Weather Center forecast will remain mostly cloudy tonight, right around a near record low for the date of 14. The current record, 13 degrees. That was set in 1973. Decreasing clouds, wind dying down overnight. Mostly sunny tomorrow, near 34. Then increasing clouds tomorrow night, 24. Sunday cloudy, areas of snow, maybe mixed with some rain. Sunday's high, 36. And again, the Weather Service in Bismarck, in a special statement this afternoon, is talking about the possibility of additional snow tomorrow night and Sunday. It looks like the best chances of that would be in the western and central part of the state tomorrow night through Sunday evening, generally north of Highway 2, certainly not of the... Don't look for the accumulation as much of the state is seen throughout the week, but there may be areas of snow likely. And there is at least a chance of snow, as indicated by meteorologist Tom Szymanski's forecast in our KFGO listening area. Fargo-Moorhead, 24 cloudy. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
I've been well. I'm a little bit, I don't know, getting a little frustrated with the weather that we've been having, like everybody else in the upper Midwest. But I have faith it's gonna switch around and it's gonna stay steady. Well, we're gonna have steady, nice weather for more than 4 hours at a time sometime in the next month. You know what? I am a huge believer in the law of averages and that everything will average out. And if you follow weather stuff quite often, if you have a stretch of really icky weather for a while, you're going to have a stretch of above normal, beautiful weather for a little while. So that's what's keeping me going. That's what's keeping me positive, knowing that we're going to have some extra nice weather coming up here sometime in the future. Yeah. There's a lot of things that a guy can do right now besides ice fishing. Ice fishing season's pretty much, you can put a fork in it. It's pretty much done. The open water season has begun. The Rainy River is still open, although it did get muddied up here earlier this week, and it's about to close, and might even close today or tomorrow. But South Dakota, Chamberlain, a lot of people are heading down there with their boats. Missouri River in the Bismarck area, tail race and south, that's open now. So there's a lot of places where you can dump your boat in if you want to drive a little ways out of Fargo. We've been doing a lot of maple syrup tapping. We both are finished up with that now. Shed hunting is really popular this time of year. We'll do a little bit of that yet, but you can't have all this fresh snow if you're going to go shed hunting. You want to be getting rid of things. And turkey hunting. Turkey hunting is going strong right now. We are taking our hand at it sometime later next week, where we'll spend a couple of days out doing that. And the weather isn't necessarily great for that either, but I've seen a lot of people are getting success at it.
I'm curious. Last week, we talked about what it takes to actually get your own maple syrup, and you said, hey, that's something we've been doing. Did you measure how many gallons you got or how many jars you filled?
Yep. So we got a relatively small scale program. We've been doing it for 2 years. The first year, we only boiled down 15 gallons. This year, we boiled down 80. So we got to boil down a lot more. Ended up making 2 gallons of syrup, which doesn't sound like a lot, but really 2 gallons of maple syrup is quite a bit.
Yeah. Unless you see me and how I eat my pancakes, it might not last as long. But yeah, I'm sure it lasts quite a while though for a family.
It does. The people that make a lot of it, they figure out different uses for it. Besides that, a lot of it will go out for gifts or friends, coworkers, stuff like that. One of the things I like to do with it is I like to use it for cooking. I made some venison jerky here a week ago that had maple syrup glaze on the top. That was really good. Just 2 nights ago, I made some glazed carrots with maple syrup, with pure maple syrup. That turned out really good. So there's a lot of uses for it besides just your pancake.
Yeah. You had me at the venison jerky with maple glaze on it. We got Gone Outdoors every Saturday. We didn't get a chance to connect last week because we made way for the Twins. Curious what's coming up this weekend on Gone Outdoors.
So this week we're going to chat with Aaron Reiling of Wild Fur Taxidermy. He's local. He's in Downer, Minnesota, just a hop, skip, and jump away. And we've had him on quite a few times talking about fish or deer heads or, all that kind of stuff. But this time we're going to chat with him about the Minnesota Taxidermy Guild. He happens to be the president of that. And a little bit about what that's about and what it takes to get into the sport or hobby or career, depending on what you want to do. I think most people that do it ended up turning it into a career. Mm-hmm. So we'll chat with Aaron. Mike Witt of Northside Baits in Detroit Lakes. Again, talking careers, we want to talk with him a little bit about what it's like to own a bait store, all the different things that are involved. You walk into a lot of bait stores and the owners are standing around hanging out and talking fishing, and it's not that easy. And we're going to chat with him a little bit about that. And we're going to head north to Grand Forks. Captain Brad Durk, he's one of the best catfish anglers in the upper Midwest, if not the country, right up in Grand Forks. And he does a lot of seminars, does a lot of classes. He's a guide during the summertime. We're going to chat with him because he is going to be coming to town this coming week for the FM Walleyes meeting. He's going to be the speaker, and he's going to chat about the Red River.
I'd be curious on the taxidermy front what the most unique request is, because, if you go to some of these places where, they've got things hung all over the shop, all over if the wife allows, the walls, maybe in the man cave, or at a watering hole there, you get to see some unique mounts, whether we're talking fish, duck, goose, certainly deer, some of those more exotic animals. I'd be curious, or is there something you had to turn around and say, no, we don't have the means to do it? I get why you want to, because there's such a personality, I think, that goes into some of these, some of that craft, as I've seen throughout the years. Not telling you what questions to ask. That's just where my mind goes, Scott.
That is a great question. I got two real quick points to make on that. One is, he did mention that at this taxidermy guild, they have everything there that you can imagine. They have over 100 different displays, which is open to the public when they have their convention. And he said there's everything there from exotic animals all the way down to mice, where there's stuffed mice.
Wow.
Which, to me, I don't know. But,
yeah,
it's very small detail, and I can see where it's not that easy to do.
I imagine it's a difficult task, but I'm wondering why somebody would say, hey, I got this mouse here. Would you stuff it for me?
and then the other thing, as far as weird questions for a company, one of the companies that we work with said somebody had called and requested that they had their father's ashes, he was cremated, installed in a fishing rod.
Wow.
Put in the butt of a fishing rod so that all of his grandkids could have a rod with Grandpa in it. And they turned him down. They said, yeah, that's just a little bit, we can't do that.
Yeah.
A little bit too far off.
Yeah, there's a bit of a line that has to be drawn at some point. I get the sentiment, right. But yeah, I would hate to be responsible for that from the company side as well.
Exactly. I see it on both sides. So, yeah, I'm sure any business owner out there, that was probably a great question for almost every one of them, because I'm sure they've all heard some stuff.
Yeah, I can about imagine. Everyone has a story to tell of that most unique question that's come your way from the job you do. Yeah. Scott, I appreciate your time. I'm going to let you go, and I'll be listening tomorrow, all right?
All right, man. You guys have a great weekend.
Yeah, you do the same, my friend. Scott Brewer, him and Kyle Agri, they're gone outdoors. You can catch them here on KFGO every Saturday morning. I'd encourage you to tune on in. Some more messages coming your way. It is 4:20 KFGO time on a Friday afternoon. This is Afternoons Live. I'm Tyler Axenis. Stick around. Bon Jovi, I think I've shared my thoughts on Bon Jovi. Not my go-to. This song in particular, I don't know if I had to pick the one Bon Jovi song, saying, you know what, this is the one song that I'll allow on my playlist. What's the Wanted song? Wanted Dead or Alive? Is that the name of it? I think that's the one. That's the Bon Jovi that hits my list.
All right. All right.
Because that just reminds me of Young Guns, which, again, if you're a regular listener, you know that there's movies that if you see them on your guide, that's probably what one that you're going to turn to. Young Guns, the original. Forget the second one that was ever made. That thing can just burn for all I care. But that song reminds me of it. It's probably in the second one, actually.
I've got to tread lightly on the Bon Jovi conversation because there are several members of my family, my mom included, who are huge Bon Jovi fans.
Oh, and you don't want to upset them on a Good Friday.
I will say that song and a few others, they're great, in the background at a party songs. I'm not a huge Bon Jovi fan myself, but I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. You just said, hey, I got to be tread lightly. Then now you're just saying, you know what? I don't like him either. He's overrated, that Bon Jovi.
I like more than one song, but Wanted Dead or Alive right up there.
That's the top one.
That's 1A if it's not one.
What's your go-to Bon Jovi song? 35270, if you had to choose one. I'm just curious because I just never got the allure of why people gravitated to it. I know I've got guests that when they say, hey, could you play me in with Bon Jovi? I can think of one out in Bismarck, probably streaming us right now.
I can think of one from Maddox.
I can think of, it's one of the Swanson boys. You heard it here. He's got his own show on 740 The Fan on Saturdays most time. I don't get it, but maybe you do. 237-5948. That's the Laney studio line. Of course, the iConsultants of North Dakota text club, 35270. I've been very full today. I appreciate that. On a Friday afternoon. KFGO, you know what? Our studio, I want to thank Gunderson's for sponsoring that. That's where I'm sitting right now. And I'll be here until 5 o'clock. Jack Sunday's showing up. He's getting you ready for the drive and going to steer you on into Couch Potato Radio a little bit later on. Your KFGO evening lineup set for you. And, of course, all the usual suspects on a Saturday. And then Easter Sunday, keep it locked in on your drive to and from wherever it is you are going. Final half hour. Got a triple play for you. There was a lot of stupid things in the news this weekend. I'll give you my thoughts on all that. Plus, an update on what was a stupid position to find yourself in when you make a purchase of $500,000 going towards what you thought was going to be Tom Brady's last touchdown pass, and then like 48 hours he comes out of retirement. There's an update on that. I'll share it with you as well as some of the other things that we found out there. In the meantime, get you caught up with KFGO News. Paul Jurgens in that KFGO News Center. Get you all the news you need to know as you are getting ready to punch out here on a Friday afternoon. I'm Tyler Axis. You got locked into 790 AM, 94.1 FM, and now 104.7 FM, KFGO.
News and weather this hour brought to you by Ottertail Power Company, positively impacting communities they serve for more than a century.
Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy. It's 24. I'm Paul Jurgens. The blizzard will go down on the record books in many parts of North Dakota. Alex Edwards, a National Weather Service meteorologist in Bismarck, says it could take several days, though, of checking records to determine if and where new April storm records have been set.
Solidly what we have right now is that for the Bismarck area, where our snowfall records are actually most comprehensive historically, that this was the highest or the greatest snowfall event in the month of April. This beats out the famous 1997 April blizzard, and then as well as one in 2013. So definitely a record breaker for April.
At least 18.3 inches of snow fell officially in Bismarck, where records for the city go back to 1886. Minot will also see a new record, reports of nearly 3 feet of snow there. 24, this is KFGO News. "23 degrees. This is KFGO News. Fargo's Police Advisory and Oversight Board has held its first meeting. Chief Dave Zabolski says he hopes the board will improve trust and relations with the community, which he says were greatly strained in 2020. The chief gave an update on the department at that first meeting, saying their recruiting efforts to fill staffing shortages have been successful.
This would likely be the largest group of officer hires at any one given time in department history by the time we get to August. So we're pretty excited about that in terms of getting some new boots on the ground and helping fill some of those gaps.
The Oversight Board will meet once a month. Members will serve terms of 3 or 4 years. A deeply divided Minnesota legislature returns from its Easter break Tuesday. Lawmakers have just 5 weeks to decide what to do with the state's $9 billion budget surplus, along with another $1 billion in unspent federal pandemic relief. There's been little agreement on the surplus between the House Democratic and Senate Republican majorities. There is no constitutional requirement that the legislature pass anything this session, given that it approved a budget last year. State Senator Kent Egan will not seek re-election. Egan, who represents District 4, which includes portions of Clay, Becker, and Norman counties, says his decision was based on several factors, including his desire to return to teaching and legislative redistricting. He was first elected to the Senate in 2012, but served in the House for 10 years before his move to the Senate. He's the latest Minnesota lawmaker to announce their retirement at the end of the year. A guard at Minnesota's Stillwater State Prison has been charged with smuggling methamphetamine into the prison. The 24-year-old St. Paul woman is charged with drug sale and possession. According to the complaint, the guard admitted to bringing drugs into the prison 6 times. Investigators say they seized a cell phone from an inmate and discovered a series of text messages with the corrections officer where plans to smuggle drugs into the prison were discussed. She was later arrested when her car was searched as she arrived for work. The charges say meth was found and a receipt. KFGO Weather Center forecast. The Weather Service in Bismarck has issued a special weather statement looking at the good possibility of additional accumulating snow. That would be tomorrow night and Sunday. Looks like the best chances for that are along and north of Highway 200, although snow is possible elsewhere in the state. It may cause additional travel problems. KFGO meteorologist Tom Shemansky is looking for mostly cloudy conditions this evening, decreasing clouds and wind then. Our overnight low near 14, becoming mostly sunny, 34 tomorrow. Increasing clouds tomorrow night, 24 the low. Cloudy, breezy on Sunday. Areas of snow, maybe mixed with rain, and 36. And partly to mostly cloudy, another windy day Monday, high of 34. Fargo-Moorhead, 23. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
Again, many thanks going out to everyone that chose wisely and said, you know what, I want to hear 80s hair metal today. And then for all of you that sent in, rock requests like Ugly Kid Joe here. Coachella, I think, is a day one right now. Here's the thing that I'll ask you in this final 25 minutes. Send me your dream lineup of a music festival to 35270. Who are the 5 bands you would love to see at a music festival, that 3-day stretch that you're hanging out? You got the tent, you've got, well, you know me, maybe the camper. But who is it for you? 35270. You send that into the iConsultants of North Dakota text club. Just curious where you land. Top 5 bands that you would love to see at a music festival. CBS National News on the way. We'll come back to that also on Triple Play as we get you ready for the drive time with Jack Sunday. He's right up at 5 o'clock here on KFGO.